All right, class, specifically the Slifer Slackers, we have a quick pop quiz. When you are a brokey, what is the correct thing to do? Do you A, get your money up, not your funny up? B, reassess the life choices that got you there? C, ask a friend or loved one for help? Or D, buy budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks? You have 5 seconds to respond. 4, 3, 2, 1. If you didn't comment down below in the comment section D, get some budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks, then you are cooked. Because in today's video, for the brokies, for the new players getting in, or the players that just want to try out a new cheap Yu-Gi-Oh deck, we're going to be talking about the top 5 budget decks post-Alliance Insight. And of course, whether if you're a Slifer Slacker, a Reading Raw, or an Outstanding Obelisk, I'm going to need you to post down below in the comment section for your worksheet, which is what are some other amazing budget Yu-Gi-Oh decks. Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with y'all big dogs? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. And speaking of such, we have, what time is it? Oh yeah, Update Monday! A particular time in this video where I trick you into thinking that it's only a Yu-Gi-Oh video, only to make you a better person overall. Don't worry, if you're just here for Yu-Gi-Oh, there's timestamps. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this one before, but in today's Update Monday, I want to talk about challenging yourself. Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. For the people that did not know, I just recently became a teacher. It was something that I was not comfortable with. But I took a shot into the dark and I did things that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with to get to the outcome that I wanted. And now as I embark into new territories, there are some other things that I'm going to have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable with. Like dealing with people wearing suits and ties and all that other crazy stuff. And of course, going to meetings. I absolutely hate meetings. But those are the things that make us better people. I want you to understand that anytime you come across an opportunity where you're not comfortable, it's an opportunity for you to become a better person. If you just go through the motions and get over it, then you won't gain as much experience, whereas if you go through the things and actually take something from it to make you a better person. It's not just about participating in the event, it's about actually pushing yourself and participating in the event. That, I promise you, will make you so much stronger as a person. And that's where we have it, making you guys very, very strong people in life. Because odds are you're broke now, you're going to be broke in the future, you're going to be broke forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm broke too. So in this particular video, I thought of 5 really good budget decks. Decks that can be really comfortable at being uncomfortable. Strategies that are meant to be competitive while being really cheap. Especially when you compare it to its other counterparts, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be a really expensive game. So while the Alliance Inside format is unsolved, there are still some really powerful budget Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks we can lean on, and one of them is actually a proven winner in Crystron. Now, unfortunately, Crystron doesn't get any new support in Alliance Insight, but the deck's ideals still align with the format. Crystron is one of the very few Yu-Gi-Oh! Strategies that can set up an Omni Negation in Cyber Dragon Infinity, and is also one of the very few strategies that reward you for good Yu-Gi-Oh! Play. Let's face it, big dogs, if you're playing against somebody that has a ton of money, more often than not, they have some of those really unfair, expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards. So oftentimes than not, they'll have a significant edge over you. But what Crystron does is help you balance that edge just a little bit. I absolutely love when Yu-Gi-Oh! Is about skill expression, so when you play Crystron correctly, you actually get rewarded despite your opponent having those really expensive cards. It's a deck that can be really, really tricky and somewhat complicated to play, kind of like how Memento was before it got expensive on us, but it is ever so rewarding when you pick the deck up. The next thing about Crystron is that you always want to look towards cards that can help you improve the deck that are a little bit more expensive. One of the biggest things in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is the Kashtira engine, because those cards are crazy against the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! With Kashtira Unicorn allowing you to be able to banish monsters like Ryziel Detonator in Malice Whitebinder, and Kashtira Fenrir being able to take on any threat, these cards are not only good against the meta, they also can be used to allow Crystron to go into full combo. It also helps that the most expensive card for Crystron is probably Crystron Smeagol at about $2. So I have to say, I absolutely love how cheap and effective this deck can be in the right player's hands. Now, I personally wouldn't give Crystron to a beginner Yu-Gi-Oh! Player because it is so hard to understand. While the cards may seem simple and front-facing, there's a lot of nuance in between it. If you are a beginner Yu-Gi-Oh! Player and you're looking to get into the game with something cheap, then Blue Eyes is still your go-to. While Structure Deck Blue Eyes White Destiny may not be exactly $10 anymore, around $14 for a structure deck, which basically means $42 for a decently competitive deck, is still really cheap. And the best part about it is that Blue Eyes pretty much out of the package has proven to be a successful Yu-Gi-Oh strategy. There's actually been some Blue Eyes players that have been able to top with just the structure deck, so there is a chance. Now, I personally like Blue Eyes for two different things for budget beginners. The first thing is that almost all of the contents are in the structure deck, but the next important thing is that not only are all of the cards cheap in the TCG, the deck is highly obtainable in Master Duel. Now, I want to be very clear. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the deck is incredibly cheap in Master Duel, but considering that you could get the deck for free if you use that platform correctly, it would be a really good beginner intro class before you actually spend money on the cards themselves. I also really would like to caution you here is that if you are playing Blue Eyes in Master Duel, it's a little bit different than what you would play in the TCG. You see, Master Duel players have no regard for cards like Nibiru the Primal Being, and of course, Master Duel players do play differently than in the TCG, considering that Master Duel is best of 1, where the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG is normally best of 3. But the good thing about this situation is that most things that you learn in the Master Duel version will apply to the TCG. And if you do go through with that route, you'll have two styles of play. You have the up-tempo disrespect Nibiru version for Master Duel, and then of course the more downbeat version for Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is still simply one of the perfect decks for beginners. Hopefully we get the same treatment for Dark Magician. Konami, wink wink, make it happen. I mean, come on, for Christ's sakes, I got a Dark Magician right here. You guys gave me this. Make your promise true. Make Dark Magician great again. Now, if you're looking for something new inside of Alliance Insight, there's actually a couple of decks that I'm pretty excited about. While Malice, Rizio, and Dragon Ruler have been the forefront of this Yu-Gi-Oh set, there are some sneaky good Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that get support in here. One namely is Outlich. Outlich actually gets two new really powerful cards. One being Fallen Angel of the Golden Land that allows you to be able to summon this card by tributing a light zombie monster while you have Outlich the Golden Lord in your graveyard. Also, if the card is sent from the field to the graveyard, it allows you to summon an Outlich monster from pretty much anywhere. Then the new trap card, Elixir of the Exalted Golden Lord, is probably the real deal. The difference between this card and the other Golden Land trap cards is that this card doesn't have to summon itself as a monster. It can continuously put those banished Golden Land cards back to your side of the field, which I think is huge. But then if it does summon itself as a monster, it non-targets return a monster to the hand. This can be used to get rid of your opponent's threats or return your trap cards to your hand for later use. And now that Outlich is a 5-year-old strategy, there are even more cards to make it a more useful, pure Yu-Gi-Oh deck, or if you wanted to mix it with strategies like Punk or Horus if you could afford it, it's very much on the table. I like that this deck can play really expensive cards like Chaos Angel, considering that the Golden Land cards are light monsters, meaning that you can have a free monster to banish a card on the field, but also be unaffected by your opponent's card effects, while simultaneously getting Golden Land cards into the graveyard. Silhouette Rabbit also allows you to be able to set Golden Land cards to your side of the field. There's just way too many uses for Outlich. And jumping back onto those options that you could use to play with Outlich, yes, you can play some of those strategies that I mentioned that are a little bit more expensive. Then there's also some of the cheaper versions of Outlich. Argo Stars and even Stun Outlich are variants that come to mind, but if you play Stun, you might get kicked out of the school. Outlich also isn't the only older Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that got support in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! There's also Live Twin. Live Twin was a strategy that I often thought was outdated. But one thing that's really important about Live Twin is that it's still a one-card combo Yu-Gi-Oh deck. You could almost say that it's more modernized than some other strategies that are newer than it. The new card Live Twin Leela Suite gives the strategy a hand trap to be able to work with. It can essentially guarantee that your Live Twin card effects go through, and it's also a monster that can summon itself from the graveyard to the side of the field as an extender. The new Evil Twin Kisakil Deal monster is crazy strong too. A card allowing you to be able to draw a card every time your opponent activates a card effect is kind of crazy. But the best thing about Evil Twin Kisakil is that it's a light fiend monster. I guess it was only a matter of time before Yu-Gi-Oh players started playing Fiendsmith in Live Twin, and this card is the perfect bridge. And it's kind of cool because your Evil Twin monsters just so happen to be Cybers, meaning that they're searchable through cards like Cynet Mining, and being able to turn that one card into an Evil Twin Kisakil Deal, which is a light fiend, means that you can go into a full Fiendsmith combo, as well as save your other Live Twin monster that you summon from your deck for your Live Twin play. While the Fiendsmith engine may be expensive right now, I can almost guarantee you that another rarity collection will be coming out to reprint the other cards. I also have a strong feeling that even without the Fiendsmith cards, Evil Twin will be a really fun deck to play, and at the very least will be local levels competitive. That's pretty good considering that the most expensive card for the deck is about $3. And lastly, would have to go to my Copium take. But before I get into this Copium take, I need you guys to do yourself a favor. For the Yu-Gi-Oh players that are on a budget but looking for the most premium quality sleeves, you can always go to TheCaliEffect.com to pick up your Raven Wing. Right now we have version 3.0, which is easily the best sleeve on the market, but one thing that I always look to do is improve. So with that being said, I'm excited to announce that version 4 is on the way with a whole new color, and because of that, I'm discounting the version 3s for the rest of their lifespan. So go ahead, big dogs, if you want to support the channel while also getting a top quality preem sleeve, pick up your Raven Wing sleeves today, and let's get to my Copium take. I genuinely think that there's something good about Goaty. A lot of people didn't pay attention to it, but Goaty was actually on the cusp of competitiveness until we got more one-card combo Yu-Gi-Oh decks. There were players that were actually figuring out how to make a competitive version of Goaty and were doing decently well at regional events. Now that Goaty actually gets some pretty solid support from Alliance Insight, I think it can be a pretty solid budget Yu-Gi-Oh deck. For the people that don't know what Goaty does, it's a fish deck that's based on banishing the monsters and then bringing them back on the next turn. A really good thing about them is that they allow you to synchro summon on your opponent's turn. And synchro summoning on your opponent's turn has historically been a pretty busted mechanic. Because of this deck has plenty of spot removal, excellent recursion, but one of the most busted cards in the deck is Goaty of the Deep Beyond. A card that allows you to banish all cards on the field when it's synchro summoned, meaning that your Goaty monsters will come right back and your opponent's lost cards, they probably won't. Now, I will concede that this may not be as strong against Malice unless they've already banished their Malice cards, but Goaty actually got some really good support that should at least make you give it a second consideration. Apis School is exactly what the deck needed. The deck didn't have a solid starter that can also be an extender, and this card checks all of those boxes. Fish and Bids is also another spell card that leaves you scratching your head because your opponent can stop it by banishing 2 of their own cards, but you've pretty much already banished your fish card, so Goaty has already started here. I genuinely think that Goaty really could be a good deck, but you guys' assignment is to post down below what are some other powerful budget Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that you think can be really successful. Bonus points if it's from Alliance Insight and you mention why it can be really strong. Until then, class, you're done with your history of economics, so go ahead and go to the next class and check out these other videos.